Imagine leaving your home, sailing across an ocean. No one had ever crossed safely before, arriving in a land filled with endless forests, and then disappearing without leaving a single body. No battle, no signs of disease, no mass grave. Just one mysterious word carved into a tree. CROATOAN, more than 400 years later. Historians, archaeologists, and scientists are still asking the same question. What really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? The year was 1584. England was becoming one of Europe's greatest powers. Queen Elizabeth wanted to challenge Spain, the richest empire in the world. Spain already controlled huge parts of the Americas, bringing home ships loaded with gold and silver. England wanted a colony of its own, not just for wealth, but for power. The Queen chose one of her most trusted explorers, Sir Walter Raleigh. His mission was simple: find a place in the New World where England could build its first permanent colony. After months at sea, Raleigh's explorers reached a beautiful island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. They named it Roanoke. Dense forests stretched for miles. Fresh water flowed nearby. Fish filled the rivers. To English eyes, it looked like paradise, but paradise often hides dangerous secrets. In 1585, England sent its first group of settlers to Roanoke. Almost immediately, things began to go wrong. Food became scarce. The settlers depended heavily on nearby Native American tribes for supplies. At first, relationships were peaceful, but misunderstandings soon turned into violence. Trust disappeared and fighting broke out. The settlers realized they could not survive. When the famous English sailor Sir Francis Drake happened to sail past the island, they accepted his offer to return home. England's first American colony had failed, but Queen Elizabeth refused to give up. She wanted another attempt. This time, families would go, not soldiers, permanent settlers, people who would build homes, plant crops, raise children, and create a new England across the ocean. In 1587, a new expedition arrived. This time there were around 115 settlers, men, women, children, entire families. Among them was the colony's governor John White. His daughter, Eleanor Dare, was also part of the journey. Only days after arriving, something incredible happened. Eleanor gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Virginia Dare. She became the first English child born in the Americas. Virginia Dare wasn't just a baby. She was an investment. Sir Walter Raleigh had invested a fortune equivalent to $7 million to build this colony. If it failed, he would lose everything. His insurance was these families. This baby was proof that England could own America. For a brief moment, hope returned. The settlers believed they were witnessing the beginning of a bright future. They built homes, explored the land, dreamed of a thriving community. But they had one serious problem. They were running out of food, and winter was coming. Governor John White made a painful decision. He would sail back to England, gather supplies, and return as quickly as possible. He kissed his family goodbye, promising he would be back soon. John White boarded a ship for England in late 1587. He believed he would return within a few months with food, tools, medicine, and new settlers. But history had other plans. England was preparing for war. King Philip II of Spain was assembling the mighty Spanish Armada, a fleet of warships that threatened to invade England. Queen Elizabeth ordered almost every available English ship to stay home for the country's defense. White could do nothing but wait. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. Every day he wondered about his daughter, Eleanor. Every day he thought about his granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in America. Were they safe? Were they hungry? Were they still alive? Finally, after nearly 3 years, John White secured passage back to Roanoke. His heart was filled with hope. He imagined his family running to greet him on the beach. He had no idea that he was sailing toward one of history's greatest mysteries. On August 18, 1590, exactly 3 years after his granddaughter's birth, John White stepped onto Roanoke Island. Something felt wrong. The settlement was silent. No smoke rose from the chimneys. No children laughed. No dogs barked. No voices called his name. The houses were gone. The wooden fort had been carefully dismantled. There were no signs of battle. No burned buildings. No broken weapons. No graves. No human remains. It looked as if the entire colony had simply packed up and left. White searched desperately for any clue. Then someone noticed something carved into a wooden post. The letters read, "Crow." Nearby, another message had been carved into a tree. It was the only clue the settlers had left behind. John White immediately recognized the word. CROATOAN was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island. It was also the home of a Native American tribe that had been friendly with some of the English settlers. Before White had left England, he and the colonists made an agreement. If the settlers ever needed to move, they would carve the name of their destination. If they were forced to leave because of danger, they would carve a Maltese cross beside the message. But there was no cross, only one word, CROATOAN to White. That was a sign. Maybe the colony had survived. Maybe they had simply moved. He desperately wanted to sail to CROATOAN Island. But nature had one more cruel surprise. A powerful storm struck the coast. The ship's captain refused to continue. Against White's wishes, the ship turned back toward England. He never returned to Roanoke again. He never saw his family again, and no one ever found the missing colonists. For more than 4 centuries, their fate has remained one of history's greatest unanswered questions. Many historians believe the settlers simply joined the CROATOAN people. Food was scarce. The colony was struggling. The CROATOANs already knew how to fish, hunt, and survive in the region. Joining them may have been the only way to stay alive. Over the years, European travelers reported meeting Native American groups with unusual features. Some had gray or blue eyes. Others claimed they had ancestors who could read English or spoke of white relatives from long ago. While these stories are impossible to verify completely, they have kept this theory alive for generations. Some archaeologists have also discovered English-made tools and objects at sites connected to Native American communities. These discoveries suggest that at least some settlers may have lived among local tribes. Another theory suggests the colonists never reached CROATOAN Island. Instead, they may have moved inland in search of better farmland. Excavations at a site known as Site X, a location in northeastern North Carolina, uncovered several English artifacts dating to the late 1500s. These included pottery fragments, metal objects, and other items consistent with the Roanoke period. Some researchers believe these finds indicate that a small group of colonists relocated there. However, the evidence is still debated. The artifacts could also have reached the area through trade. So the mystery remains unsolved. Not every theory has a hopeful ending. Traditions speak of English ancestors. Every new discovery brings fresh hope. But every answer also raises new questions. More than 435 years have passed. The forests have changed. The coastline has shifted. Storms have erased countless traces of the past. Some evidence may already be lost forever. The lost colony of Roanoke is more than an old story. It reminds us how fragile history can be. 115 people crossed an ocean to build a new life. Then they vanished. The last clue was CROATOAN with no cross. That means they were not in danger. So why did John White never find them? Was CROATOAN Island a lie to trick him? Comment your theory. Did they join the tribe? Or were they hiding something worth killing for?